The following is a local resident producer's program. The program content is the sole responsibility of the producer and does not necessarily reflect the views or policies of CATV2, Oshkosh Community Media Services, the City of Oshkosh, or Time Warner Cable.
Hi everybody, welcome to Eye on Oshkosh. Cheryl Hentz here, and we're very pleased to be joined on this edition of Eye on Oshkosh by one gentleman who's been here a few times in the past, Bob Cornell. He's a very active community member, and he's on this evening in his capacity as president of the advisory board for the Oshkosh-Senior Center. And joining him is also Mark Ziemer. Mark is the Director of Senior Services for the City of Oshkosh, and we're going to be talking about the Seniors Center and the proposed name change, which was just recently voted on, and what the Seniors Center does, and all kinds of good stuff. So anyway, thanks to both of you for being here tonight.
Oh, thanks for having us.
We appreciate
Thank you.
it.
Yep.
Now, I have to say, we invited you here because the Seniors Center was proposing a name change.
Right.
And you have just in the last few days or so before we taped this already voted on it. So, and you just told me this tonight, so all my questions, are just kind of a moot point. I can throw them out the window. But I'm still going to ask some of them because you never know. A name change might come up again. Mm-hmm. I would actually like to propose a name change. And before viewers give me a bunch of flack, I was noticing, and we were kind of chuckling about this. Now, this is your Vision 2020 study. And here it says Oshkosh Senior Center.
Right.
And down here it says Seniors Center.
Correct.
One's singular, one's plural, and it's on the same cover of your own document. What happened? And seniors, plural, is the correct name, right?
That's correct. Yep.
See, I think it should just be senior, single.
That is the accepted name across the nation.
The singular version?
Singular version.
So how come you guys are so different?
We live in Oshkosh.
Wisconsin's Event City, right?
Yeah, there you go. Right. And don't even go there. So.
Predecessors to both of us made that choice. I assume it probably happened 35 years ago. We are celebrating 35 years this year in a week, and it's my impression that it had the S that entire time.
Well, probably because you're inviting more than one senior there. Yeah. It's a place for seniors to gather, but it's hard to say, Seniors Center. I mean, it sounds stupid when you have to emphasize it like that. And I think most senior centers around the country are just Senior Center. So it's just kind of weird. So if you're going to do a name change at any time in the future, that's what I would suggest. Let's go there. But tell us about the proposed name change that, has just recently been voted on. You were looking at changing it. Why?
Well, we had the opportunity because we were looking at telling our story and a whole new aggressive marketing approach and naming, branding, and telling our story. Well, with that opportunity, you start with making sure you're sticking with the name. And with Bob and several others, we've had that conversation around our use, and I think Bob and I would agree, overuse of the word senior in labeling of a number of different things, not just the buildings. Mm-hmm. So it was the right time to ask. Before we get into producing 3 brochures, a PowerPoint, redoing the newsletter look, and kicking everything up a notch, or before we even the letters on the side of the building need some replacement and some repair. So we better confirm that we're sticking with a name or changing it right off the bat.
who proposed the name change? I mean, why did the idea of a name change even
wasn't
come
that
up?
part of, we have 44 Degrees North as a marketing service for the center. And didn't some of that come from Diane Penson-Stadler relative to branding? I can't quite recall of.
I think it probably happened even before we got them involved because, again, just around the word senior. And now that I think about it, it actually came, it was one of the questions, one of the significant questions we asked when we were doing our focus groups for our Vision 2020 process. So it does go back almost a year.
Yeah.
It was one of those questions that we got a lot of feedback from, and there was enough to make sure that we put that on the table and ultimately put it to a vote.
Well, it came, it started making news kind of at a bad time because it's at the same time thereabouts that the city was looking at changing its moniker, going from Oshkosh-on-the-Water to Oshkosh, Wisconsin's event city. And if you guys changed this name, that would certainly qualify as an event because after 35 years of knowing it one way and then have to, try to adjust to something brand new.
Well, I think part of it is as you age, you move slower. So it takes a while through the discussion stage because the focal groups go back a couple of years, which set up the Vision 2020. And, you try to keep pushing, but when you're working with all volunteers, things don't move as fast as you'd like to have them move.
Sure.
And the interesting thing was in our Vision 2020, there's about 40 people involved in that group, and we were split right down the middle. Change, don't change. So.
What were the reasons for change?
Well,
you had a letter to the editor about this. So.
I still think, and of course this goes back to everything that happens in our country. We label everything, and I don't agree with labels. That's just a personal opinion. If you Google senior centers and name changes, there's just a multitude of them that are making the move because the baby boomers that are going to, what are there, 6,000 or 8,000 a day are getting to be 60 years old.
Of course, there's another label.
There's another label, right. Everything comes back to a label.
Yeah.
So, but unfortunately, these people don't want to be identified as a senior. We have a lot of 50 plus participating and volunteering, which is just great, but they don't want to be labeled a senior. Basically, they don't want to be labeled anything, which for me I think that's fine. I think that's great. So, what do you do about it? Should you try to take the label away and move on to something else? And that was part of the attempt too.
Sure. Well, go ahead.
If I may, yeah.
Sure.
Part of it also is that stereotype that comes with that senior center 2 words. Everybody's experiences what comes to mind for them when they hear that phrase, senior center, probably stems from one that they've been to, or maybe a television or movies or whatever. And when I go and do talks in the community and I say, okay, throw at me what's your stereotypes when you hear senior center. And it's, you play cards? How about some bingo and a meal site? Those are the top 3 that always come with senior centers. Well, for those listeners and viewers who have never been to the Oshkosh Senior Center, we're here to tell you the story is a mile long, and from support groups to, full onslaught exercise classes and a wood shop second to none in the state, a computer lab, and on and on and on. If there's too much stereotype connected with Senior Center, that was part of the impetus to look at least softening that introductory statement and maybe helping us get around that.
Well, no, I completely understand that. I had mentioned to Bob, though, when we first talked about setting up this show, and that was, probably about 6-7 weeks ago already.
Right.
I said, AARP is, American Association of Retired Persons or Retired People. I can't remember exactly what their acronym stands for, but the word is retired, and yet you can join them when you're 50.
Right.
And no one retires at the age of 50 hardly. These days, with the economy the way it is, you can barely retire at the age of 65 in a lot of cases.
Correct.
And yet
Correct.
they've got a hugely strong membership. It's vibrant. But they market the heck out of their organization. And so, I don't like labels either, but, I guess we all have to have some
That's
kind of a
right.
label connotation to
Well, you have
something.
to be a realist
Yeah.
along with,
Yeah.
with the whole entire situation. But one of the perceptions we have that's very unfortunate is that the average citizen believes you have to be a member of the center. And there is no membership.
No.
You just walk in, walk out, do your thing, participate in anything you want. And that's going to be part of our biggest challenge, is the erasing that membership label, because there isn't any.
Well, and I will also say it's open to people who aren't just residents of Oshkosh. And we
Correct.
can talk a little bit about whether there's separate fees for residents and non-city residents. But I will tell you that now I'm 53, so I could go there right now.
You are welcome
but
and eligible.
I have, it was probably about 9 or 10 years ago already. I was just looking through one of the newsletters, and I happened to see a little class that was being taught that I wanted to take. And I called up and I said, hey, I'm not old enough to actually be able to use your center, but can I use it? And they said, of course.
Sure.
I paid the fee for the course because a lot of these classes there are fees associated with, and we'll talk a little bit about that too. But for time and materials and the person coming in to teach the class and that kind of thing. But it was a very nominal fee. It was, I think, I'm trying to remember, I think it might have been a 6-week course. And I just had a great time. And there were all different age groups there.
Right.
It was wonderful. It was wonderful.
Right.
If I may,
Sure.
we also currently are 50 and older, just like AARP. And because we're celebrating our 35th anniversary, 35 years ago, that years old made more sense than it does now. And we've had some discussion of even changing that. But what it really comes down to is we serve older adults, and for the most part, we serve retired older adults. But we do have exceptions, and I'm glad you shared that, because on rare occasions that continues to happen. And what I always share with those people is, yes, you're welcome, even though you haven't reached 50, but if you're ever interested in a class that has maxed out with people over 50, and there's a limit or something, then we'd ask, or we'd pretty much say, don't have room for you. But so,
or if someone wants to, say they're not necessarily a caretaker for a grandparent or aging parent, but if they just want to spend some time with that individual and they want to take them
Absolutely.
over to the senior center, and they're not age 50, I'm sure that
Sure.
they're welcome.
caregivers would always be welcome, and many might be younger, under 50. Yeah.
Yeah. So, there's just so many things that you guys have to offer. And, people can go on the city's website and click on the Senior Center link and, look at your newsletters
Right.
and the various activities that you have going on. There are so many things there, so many classes, so many
Right.
activities. And we'll talk some about that. But so now the vote was taken and the name is not changing, correct?
Seniors. Seniors.
I still think that should be changed, but
Well, and I can't argue with you because I'm, a strong advocate of name change. But that's what it will remain. So.
okay. And was the decision? I know you said that those of you kind of on the committee were sort of split down the middle.
Right.
Was this a decision that was kind of overwhelming to just leave it as is, or was it still kind of split down the middle?
Both Bob and I were keeping track of the feedback we were getting individually, because it was two different audiences who were seeking each of us out after the numerous references hit the newspaper. And I say mine was just over 75-25, somewhere between that and 80-20. But I think, Bob, you said yours was even a little higher.
About 85, 50. I got probably over 100 and some phone calls, besides the people that stopped me in Pick and Save and wanted to know if I was crazy. And I would say it ran 85 to 15. Don't touch it.
Yeah.
Which was not above my expectations. You know, I had higher expectations than that, but it did not surprise me. I said, I'm a realist. It did not surprise me that the name would not change. So.
You weren't even winning the battle in your own home, were you?
Amen. Well, that's what happens when you're married 60 years. You only get 50% vote on some items. Sometimes it's only 20%. So.
Well, I thought that was just the cutest story when your wife shared that with me. But you know, when you're outnumbered in your own home,
Yeah.
or at least evenly numbered in your own home, and can't get that 51%,
Yeah.
you know that.
Well, it
says
tells you
something.
I'm housebroke, right?
Well, at least there's that, right?
Yeah,
At least there's
guess,
that. So now but your message still is that you need to get a message out there to the public that
Correct.
you don't just have activities and programming for seniors, you know, for retired persons. So what will you do to get that message out? I mean, if you had changed the name, you'd have to do a big marketing campaign. So why not still do a marketing campaign? Is that
bet.
still on the agenda?
Absolutely, thank you. Bob mentioned earlier we have a contract with 44 Degrees North, local marketing firm, and on the list, on the short list, there'll be other things, are 3 different brochures. A very exciting and engaging PowerPoint that will tell our story well with pictures and some video clips and so forth. There's a new look. Just this past month, our newsletter has a new look, a new graphics, and much more polished.
It looks very nice.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm thrilled with it. You know, any not-for-profit, any group does what they can with the part-time staff or students or volunteers that they can. And we're thrilled to have the relationship with 44 Degrees and their professional expertise. In addition to the pieces, there's obviously, I think you alluded to it, a marketing campaign. What's that going to entail? What's it going to consist of? I'm not even sure yet. That's something we're working on the pieces now. We'll roll that out in a couple different ways. As much TV time and radio time that we can get. Maybe we'll see a billboard with this guy's face on it. Who knows?
That'll scare everybody out. Oshkosh.
No.
But when we talk about marketing, and I challenge my staff, on a regular basis, I think we make reference in our Vision 2020 as well, the programming is across the board, but we always have to be conscious of trying to reach out to young seniors, middle-aged seniors, and older seniors. And there's no magic line, but if you put one, it would be 50 to 65, 65 to 80, and 80 plus, or somewhere in there. And, you know, within reason, that kind of makes sense, and it kind of focuses you. Now, I'll tell you, just picking on exercise alone, we have exercise classes that would meet the needs of people in all those categories. And yet, there are probably some close to and a little over 80 who are still doing classes with that younger group. So it depends on your knees and your hips and your mentality and your, you know, a lot of things, or your blood pressure, where you're at in that circuit. But to see that group in the 80 plus range still doing a chair exercise and coming out every week and moving their arms and kicking up their legs to the extent that they are able, you know, it's wonderful for the physical part, but it's also wonderful and incredible for the social part and coming together as groups and interacting and staying around for a cup of coffee afterwards and some more conversation. So all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Now you mentioned about a PowerPoint. Now, will that PowerPoint be something that's on your website as well?
It's a good idea.
Thank you.
It hasn't been talked about. The number of times I get asked out to service clubs and church groups and a variety of places, you know, you can just talk so many minutes before they get tired of your voice. But if you got some good pictures and video clips that make people go, wow,
Yeah.
look, I never realized, I had no idea. You know,
Graphics
They-
tell a great story.
they might believe your voice, but they're going to believe pictures even quicker. So.
Well, and you know, if you are trying to reach a younger demographic, as well as the older demographic, you know, you can have pictures of all different age groups. And you know, I'm sure that your
I'm glad you
marketing firm is coming up with that
They
too.
will.
That's nothing unique that I'm coming up with.
I'm
but
glad you mentioned that you like the new format of the newsletter, because now the discussion starts of what will the new name be.
For the newsletter.
For the newsletter. So
All right. Well, I'll
that's
just
also
leave
part
that
of the
alone.
Vision 2020. Yeah.
Well, just make sure this it's just consistent, so we don't
Yeah,
see
that would be a good
senior
start.
and
that would be nice.
seniors.
Yeah, that would be nice.
I just got the biggest kick out of that. Yeah, I mean, it's on your own material and goof.
Yeah, you got to have something to pick on us with, so that.
Well, let's talk about you know, this Vision 2020. You know, we've
Okay.
referenced it in jest here, but let's talk about this and what exactly is it and what is it going to be used for?
I'll start first.
Sure, be my guest.
When I was hired about 3 years ago, and I replaced Sue Krybick, who had been there 29 years, one of the tables in the office had, excuse me again, a number of piles of material that she identified as the master plan. Okay, well, I dug into that over time, and master plan, 10-year plan, et cetera, et cetera. I even called the resource person that the senior center had hired out of Madison and had a conversation with him. And my spin was, it's really tough to plan what's going to happen 10 years from now. So I quickly guided it towards more of a vision instead of a plan. And so then through focus groups and a number of meetings of a subcommittee on the vision process, numerous references and conversations with the advisory board, the committee on aging, the Friends board, and also obviously the staff involvement. It was taking those piles that were in my office and getting them up to speed, getting them up to date, and then spinning it all into a package that really, you know, a page full of some history and some background, but really got into the opportunities that our campus, the two buildings, the north and south building, that make up the Oshkosh-Senior Center campus, I use that word a lot interchangeably, certainly partly about programs and services, but also the fact that our north building, which used to be the Do It Center that people know locally, is only half renovated. So there's a whole other half of that building that has potential for some of the things we've got listed. So,
Okay. Is there anything significant in here that you'd like to, not that it's not all important, but anything that you'd like to really draw viewers' attention to?
the two things that I usually say, and I guess I draw their attention to them because in terms of that north building that's not finished yet, and boy, the first week I was in my office, well, when are we going to finish that? What are we going to do with it? Certainly the economy is going to challenge us a little bit in terms of how quickly can we complete the entire project, but there are dreams of a larger multi-purpose room that could have a walking track around the outside and a sport court in the middle, but then you could set it up for banquets and food, you know, from a concert to a speaker and food events and whatnot. And certainly the exercise classes that we're already doing and having a much larger space for all of that. Probably, well, I don't know, the need for redefining the adult day service that's on our campus and getting them into one room as opposed to two rooms and across a hall, and that's okay. And they have no bathing facilities with that, which really enhances an adult day service 100-fold for the caregivers again, and for the loved ones who are caring for their family members or whoever. And the one I'm for me personally, I'm most excited about is the opportunity to look at and study and possibly create a kitchen, certainly to serve our needs on the campus, but also to look at the possibility of the Oshkosh Senior Center making the meals for home delivered and congregate use for Winnebago County.
Is that part of the Meals on Wheels program, or is that something completely different from that?
There's a meals program that comes out of Family Inc. And
That might be Meals on Wheels.
yeah, and otherwise it is the congregate meals, congregate home delivered meals that are contracted by the county through Advocap, and then deliver. And we're a site. The senior center is a congregate
Advocap,
site.
they're the
Yeah,
ones that
that's the
have
one you're
Meals
thinking
on
of.
Wheels. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Well, you know, there's a lot of good information in this booklet. And is this available to the public if they want it, or
Absolutely.
or am I just the lucky one here to have gotten
Right
it?
now, you're the lucky one.
Well, you guys are lucky too, because you've each got a copy. But anyone can get it then?
Yes.
How would they just call the seniors center to get it?
And well, the box and the pile is in my office, and
Okay.
maybe some of my staff know where that box is, but it would be easiest if they go right to me.
Okay. So,
Sure.
and you're here at City Hall, right? Or are
Well,
you
my
over there?
office is at the senior center.
It is,
Yep.
okay, all right. Okay, but I wanted to, you know, so much information in here, but I turned to page 15 in here, because this is your current services and programs, and, you know, we've talked a little bit about some of the things that you guys have to offer, but there is so much stuff here that you guys do. And I want to just kind of talk a little bit about it, because I think it's good that people know, because it's not just bingo and it's not just cards
Right.
and, you know, a meal. It's, you've got things broken down into social, physical, spiritual, environmental, intellectual, emotional, and occupational. And then there are all these things underneath, and I don't think it continues onto the other page. Nope. So it's just the one page. But everything from a chorus that goes to sing at local nursing centers, nursing homes, the Red Hat Society,
Right.
you've got a group there, watercolor and oil painting classes, wood shopping, you've got sponsored trips, you know, like field trips. We all,
Right.
you know, we all enjoyed field trips when we were in school, and here, you know, you've got a chance to go on a field trip again. Now, how many times do you get to do that in life?
Yeah.
And if I can jump in,
Yes.
those trips are coordinated through our friends,
And we're
the
going to
Friends
talk
of the
about the
Oshkosh
friends
Senior
too.
Center.
Yep.
Good.
Yep.
and they do day trips, they do overnight trips, and some of the overnight trips are multiple nights. Now I'm going to forget where they've been recently over, and they usually do one overseas trip every year.
Oh, wow.
So
Okay.
it's a wide variety.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then, of course, we do have the bingo,
Oh,
but
yeah,
there's
sure.
Wii games also, you know,
Right.
the computer Wii, W-I-I, card playing and games, basket weaving, scrapbooking. So many people are into that these days. Knitting and crocheting, bird carving. Then we get into physical. You've got cardio mix. You got all kinds of fitness games, walks and runs, falls prevention workshop, living well with chronic conditions, line dancing, arthritis exercise, a triathlon.
Yep.
You know, and you've got fitness and health consultations too. And I'm not going through every one here. There's a lot more,
Sure.
but I'm just kind of
Well, Zumba and Tai Chi are very popular right now.
really,
You bet.
huh? Okay.
Yeah.
And Zumba is under physical, and Tai Chi is under the spiritual.
Sure.
And then environmental, recycling single stream and aluminum cans, so they can, oh, and your collection site for cell phones and for eyeglasses too.
Right, sure.
Wow, okay. So if people want to get rid of those things, so they can go to your facility. Creative writing and life writing, you know, that's one of the intellectual programs that you offer, and that is one of the things that I took too. Financial workshops, computer programs, language. You guys teach languages over there?
It ebbs and flows with
Right.
people who number one, have the ability.
Yeah.
Right.
And it's interesting how my dad grew up with German in the home,
Yeah.
and kept a little bit of it his entire life, but then coming to a senior center gives you that conversational opportunity
Sure.
to kind of keep your skills honed or
Wow.
brush up on them. And I don't know if we have beginners who come in
Okay.
and
Yeah.
learn from scratch, but
Oh, that's what I'd need.
yeah, yeah, me
Amen.
too.
Amen.
Financial workshops
That's
again.
a very, very popular. There's just multiple things that are, especially in today's financial environment. The
Yeah.
financial workshops are very well attended.
Well, and then support groups for visually impaired persons, people with Parkinson's, and people with COPD. I mean, you know, and then we get into the occupational thing too. I mean, there are just so many things that you guys have to offer. And I'm certain that most of this, there's just a nominal fee attached to it.
Right,
Correct.
right.
If we went back over the list, there would be a handful of those that are free.
Okay.
But to pick on one, to come in and use our exercise equipment, the fitness center, is $10 a month for Oshkosh residents and $15 a month for non-city residents. And then if you want to join by the year, I believe it is a
100.
2-month cushion, $100.
$100.
Yeah,
That's
so
what I
instead of
pay every
12
year.
months, it's a 10-month fee if you pay by the year.
So you said if you want to join, and we talked before about not having to be a
Oops.
member,
Yeah.
so I'm confused now.
Yeah.
So straighten it out for us.
Sure. Bob was correct that to come into the center and either building, there is no membership per se. Some senior centers do, and again, as you would travel around and experience different ones, it varies in that way, that we aren't tied together by any means,
Right.
only by that label. Probably the only unique one would be if you want to use the equipment and be part of that fitness center and use it, 5 days a week or 1 or 2 or whatever your schedule allows. And to use that equipment, it is $10 a month. So I do try to catch myself and not use the word membership because it'll slip out and I'll go, well, you just as you did. So I'm glad you caught me on that. And
Well, I wasn't trying to.
it's for use of the
It raised a question
for
in
use
my
of
mind.
the for use of the equipment
Okay.
on a monthly basis. Yeah. And then for basket weaving, certainly there are material costs, as you alluded to earlier. For choir, no cost. Come in and be
Don't
a
even
part of it.
necessarily have to have a good voice, just the desire.
That's right, to have
know,
fun.
and-
It's a
the
fun
willingness-
fellowship thing.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
And to go out and then and be ambassadors and go, oh, the senior center choir, and tell us more, and yeah.
Excellent. Now, you guys mentioned a little bit earlier about the Friends of the Oshkosh Seniors Center. Here at the Oshkosh Community Media Services, they have Friends of OCMS, and you guys have Friends of the Oshkosh Seniors Center.
Correct.
Tell us what the Friends are.
You got the background.
Well, the Friends of the Oshkosh Senior Center exist to support the Oshkosh Senior Center and support almost exclusively financially and volunteering.
Okay.
I believe they've been around about as long as our new building. Just prior to that, they were formed for the purpose of helping to raise the funds to build that structure. That's our south building, the one next to the technical college. And that is approximately, I'm wonderful with history, somewhere around 22, 23 years old, give or take a year. And then they were instrumental as well in the purchase and half renovation of the north building, which was about 7 or 8 years ago.
Okay. All right.
It's also important to know that the Friends is a nonprofit corporation in itself.
And that was purposeful at the time because since we are a city entity, there are certain grants that are not accessible to city organizations that would be to a 501c3. And well, even when they had bingo games for money, to have maybe a city, that might be tough for a city to run, but for a 501c3 to sponsor and coordinate, so things like that.
Sure.
It allows both opportunities for a senior center to take advantage of. The Friends organization on an annual basis does a Fall Family Fun Fest, and this year we were thrilled that it is a wonderful social opportunity and games and music and food and all of that, but it's also a fundraiser. There's a raffle and a number of different ways, a bake sale and things. They raised over $10,000 this year, and that jumped from 4 years ago of maybe $1,000. So
Wow.
that's wonderfully increased. And then there is the piece, and again it comes back to there's no membership, and we've wrestled with them and worked through all this with them because, well, be a friend of the center. Don't buy a membership up to the center. That's not that language, but if what you've heard tonight, if what people experience and know about the Oshkosh Senior Center and what it does for people who are growing older in the greater Oshkosh area to stay active, to stay healthy, to stay connected and engaged, to access services, to go to a support group and find out answers for losing your vision or the chronic diseases that they're struggling with. Boy, I get rambling and I get off and I'm going, now where was I going?
Yeah.
The senior moment, I can qualify.
Senior moment. Well, I think you were talking about friends, and you don't have to, how people can be a friend
Right.
to the center.
So, the mission one of the main missions of the Friends and of Bob's and mine is to get all residents to understand the value of the Oshkosh Senior Center and to say, well, I support that, boy. And so the ask is, would you be a friend? And to be a friend, right now there's a nominal fee arranged by the Friends of $15 a year. Mm-hmm. And what comes with that is a newsletter delivered directly to you if you wish that to happen. But if you don't want it to come, we don't have to mail that to you. But that's oftentimes, especially when we used the word membership years ago, to be a friend, well, what do I get for that? What do I get if I pay $15? It's not about, it's about, do you support what we're doing? It's about, do you support our mission and our purpose, mm-hmm. and the life-changing we're trying to do through socialization, through, again, those 7 dimensions of wellness that you alluded to in the categories of services and programs. And the more we market and tell our story and people go, wow, I had no idea. Again, I thought it was cards and bingo and meals.
Yeah.
So we tell our story, and if someone's 18-year-old and an 18-year-old and has $15 on them and goes, I'm impressed, my grandpa and grandma, my mom, my dad, whatever the connection might be, any age can be a friend of the center.
Sure.
And in turn, for the eventual growth and support of all that we're trying to do, and we haven't touched on it yet, but the doubling numbers of older adults in the next 20 years, my goodness, how does any organization prepare for that? But right. As aggressive as we can be, we need those outside. We need the support of Friends for the growth, because in the 3 years I've been around, and it's budget time right now with the city of Oshkosh,
it is.
I'm not going to see a big increase.
Right. And I'm going to have to stop you there because we're out of time.
Okay.
But talking about the graying of our population, there are statistics in this report mm-hmm. that address that. And I also wanted to just make one other real quick comment for viewers who maybe want to be a friend, but not that $15 a year. You can be a friend by making a one-time donation of whatever you're able to give. Based on your own family budget. You can also volunteer. They need a lot of volunteers over at the Seniors Center, and whatever you're interested in helping with, they would be more than happy to have you. So contact the Oshkosh Senior Center to do any of those things. So thanks very much for being here
Thanks
and
for
for
asking.
providing
Thank
a
you very
terrific
much.
service to our community.
Thank you.
And the
Thanks.
people in it.
Sure.
So we're going to take a real short break, and when we come back, we're going to be talking about the local Eagles chapter. We'll be right back.
Dear Mom and Dad, well, I finally have some time off, so I'm writing to tell you that I'm doing well. We have good days and bad days over here. We try to remember the good ones and get through the bad ones. Mostly we have each other, and that's what keeps us going. And Mom, since you asked, if anyone wants to help, just tell them to contact the USO. You can't believe how much they do for us. With love, your son, Michael.
Every year, the U.S. Department of the Treasury receives about 1.4 million reports of problems with paper checks. Checks can be lost, stolen, or delayed. If you still receive Social Security payments by paper check, Treasury wants you to know about a safer, more convenient way to get your money. the Direct Express Prepaid Debit MasterCard. The Direct Express card is new and is available to anyone receiving Social Security benefits, even if you don't have a bank account. Your monthly benefits will be automatically placed onto your card account each month on the day your money is due. While other debit cards cost money, it is possible to use the Direct Express card for free to make purchases, pay bills, and get cash at thousands of locations nationwide. There are no sign-up or monthly account fees. No more waiting for the mail or worrying about lost or stolen checks. Call 1-877-212-9991 or visit www.usdirectexpress.com.
We were in an emergency situation. We don't have extra. We have a little bit of water and a little bit of food. A meeting place, no.
No.
I don't think we have a first aid kit.
We have tuna fish, we have
Right.
beans, we have canned tomatoes,
True.
you know.
That's true, but that's really not survival food. Tomato paste.
Yeah, well, yeah, right?
And welcome back to the second half of Eye on Oshkosh. Brian Poeschl is here now. You may recognize Brian as a former member of the Oshkosh Common Council. He was also a candidate seeking a term on the council, a year ago, I think.
Yes.
But you're here in a different capacity this evening. You are the Membership and Publicity Chair for the Oshkosh Eagles, Fraternal Order of Eagles, number 267.
Yes,
So
that's
welcome.
correct. Well, thank you.
I appreciate your giving me, sending me an email and asking to come on and talk about this, because the Eagles have changed a little
Yes, they have.
in recent years. You know, when I was a kid growing up, and for the longest time, we saw the Eagles building down on Washington Avenue,
Mm-hmm.
and then there was a charter school that was in there and so forth. And it's changed. The organization has changed,
Yes.
and so we're going to talk a little bit tonight about what the changes are and what you guys have coming up. So give us a little introduction to what the Eagles are, first of all.
Well, the Eagles are, as far as a group that's known nationwide, and their main mottos of people helping people. We try to raise funds and donate funds to a lot of organizations. In Wisconsin last year, the main fund was the Badger Care. They donated over $15,000 to. Nationwide, the Jimmy Durante Fund, many other funds that we donate to. We try to raise funds by, just in our local in Oshkosh, by recycling. When people might have an air conditioner need to get recycled, or a refrigerator or something, compared to making pay for the city, they can call an Eagles member, and we have people that we do that and raise money that way, compared to having to pay curbside fees and things like that. And in the summer-wise, we raise money. We've run the concession stands at Spember Memorial Field for, I think it's about 18 years now. And we also support we're the main sponsors of the Club 6.5 Kids Softball in Oshkosh, which is about $4,000 annually. So it's changed where, and yes, the Eagles Club was on Washington years ago, then it became a charter school. Now it's going to be called, it's the Electric Lounge, the whole place. And luckily one of our members, Ryan McCrory, is the Electric Lounge proprietor. So it's going to help us get some things going back on there, hopefully, where we currently just hold our meetings at the back room of the Surf City on Ohio Street. Was known as the old Piggly Wiggly in Oshkosh years ago. That's our home where we have meetings and we have different events that go on. And it's kind of a social group, but we still are involved in many things statewide and nationally.
So the building down in Washington, it's going to be used still
Yes.
for your activities and meetings or what have you?
Well, no, as far as we don't have anything there, but as far as coming up and starting in January, years ago, that is when it was the Eagles Club, that was where we always held bingo at.
Okay.
Then as far as after we had to sell the building, not being able to afford it anymore, and it became a charter school, some of the bingos were held at the VFW on 17th Avenue in Oshkosh. Then when that changed to another tavern, wherever, we haven't had bingo for a while. I am the new bingo agent starting in January.
The bingo agent.
Yes.
Okay, that's one I haven't heard before.
That's the person who's in charge of running the bingo as far as everything goes, all licensed and everything else. And with Ryan being an Eagles member, he's made a deal with us to charge us very cheap rent to have bingo at the Eagles, or at the Electric Lounge again, as I call it, because that's the new name of the whole place.
Electric Lounge, okay.
And it's going to start on Wednesdays. It'll be sometime in January, and it'll be back to our old selves having bingo there. And he'll have his chance of making a little money because he has the bar open and everything. You know, they had a grand opening last weekend with bands and everything in the upstairs, the downstairs. So the whole place is back to his, but being an Eagles member, he's going to let us at least have bingo there so we can get back with another fundraising event because it was a good money maker.
Is there still a bowling alley in there? Or
Yes,
was
in the
that-
basement. Oh, yes, it's still active today.
And do you have to be a member of the Eagles to go there and bowl? Or?
No, not. And you never had to be a member. They had certain leagues that were Eagles members only.
Okay.
The league used to be there on Tuesdays. It now is at the Rec Lanes on Tuesday nights. It's still the Eagles Social League, and those are pretty much all Eagles members that bowl in that league.
Okay.
But no, you never had to be a member. It's just that as far as that's where Eagles events were held, though. Also.
Okay. All right. So it's even right now, because bingo's not there, the bowling alley, someone could go there now and bowl.
Oh, sure.
Okay.
Oh,
All
yes.
right. See, I knew you'd be a good person to ask about bowling because you're a bowling
Oh, yes.
aficionado. Okay, so, you said something earlier that kind of piqued my curiosity a little bit, Brian, as far as, getting rid of some of these recycled type items. Right now, I think we all figure, well, okay, if we're replacing a stove or a refrigerator or a TV, or a computer or what have you, we've got to pay the fee to get rid of it. Well, even some of these electronics now, you can't, it's so specific as how you have to dispose of them anyway. So you're saying that you can just call the Eagles and you guys might be able to get rid of that for someone?
Yes, we have a person in charge of our recycling who's been doing it for about a year and a half now. And in the past year and a half, our fund that we have for recycling those type of things is about, I believe, $1,200 right now. And as far as if they know an Eagles member, or even stop the Surf City and let Mike, who runs Surf City, know that we can pick something up. We have a gentleman that will go pick them up. We also have another gentleman that takes care of collecting aluminum cans in Oshkosh from different taverns that have volunteered to let us do that. Some ways of making some funds to be able to benefit items. But yes, because a lot of things, like I say, that was a time where if people are taking air conditioners out of their rooms, and maybe they don't work anymore, they're going to get rid of them for next year, we'll take care of picking them up and take them to get recycled and take care of everything, and all they do is let us know.
Well, of course, I know how to reach you,
Uh-huh.
but how does someone know how to get a hold of the Eagles?
Pretty much as far as it would have to be to either stop into the Surf City and let the manager there know, because he is an Eagles member also.
Okay.
Or they can call myself, which as far as gladly get my number of 920-410-0282. If you have recyclables and want to get rid of them, call me. We'll take care of picking them up.
Okay. And we'll be sure and repeat that number before the end of this
Right.
segment. Well, I think that's a tremendous service right there, because it is kind of a pain for someone to have to come down to City Hall and pay the fee and, then go home and put the item out and, have it picked up and this kind of thing. And this way, they still have to obviously put it out. Well, maybe they don't. If it's something that they don't
Right.
want to haul out to their curb, you can probably just come right to the door and pick it up.
We
I'm
even have a
assuming.
member who was in connection with Cobus, and as far as one of our big things was an old bus that they took all the seat stuff out. We recycled the bus. So you never know.
Well, that's true. Now let's talk about what your membership makeup is. Is it men? Is it women? Is it a co-ed kind of thing?
Well, the local area is, the men is considered the local area of the Eagles in Oshkosh, and then the auxiliary is the woman. And as far as the men have their meetings the first and third Tuesdays of the month at Surf City at 5 o'clock, and the women have their meetings the first and third Tuesdays of the month at 7 o'clock at one of the people's places in Patrician Village.
Okay.
And so, but we all still do. If we didn't have the women, a lot of our events wouldn't happen. As far as when we have when we had the state golf tournament a year ago at Oshkosh, which is people from all over the state come here for a day at the weekend golf outing. If we didn't have the ladies for selling raffle tickets and take care of some of the food and joining forces with us, and whenever there's committees, it's always a couple of guys from the men's and a couple of women from the ladies that join together. We have a dinner coming up in 2 weeks. It's called the Annual Old Timers Event, and it's where we have a dinner at Primo Restaurant. And you pay to go to the dinner, but as far as they give out awards for people that might have been an Eagles member for 10, 20, 30, 50, 60, 70 years. And that's why it's called the Old Timers. And it's men and women get together and have a fun social night. So we have a lot of social events, which makes it fun. But there's neat things like, with just being an Eagles member, there's the annual Eagles State Bowling Tournament. And you have to be an Eagles member to bowl in that. When you walk in the door, you have to show your membership card to be able to bowl in that. Oshkosh won a team title last year. The year before, we won the singles and doubles. That was in Sun Prairie. This next year it's in Merrill. The year after, we're hosting in Oshkosh at the Tino Lanes. So you put in a bid for it and get it luckily, and it's kind of a neat event. But some of the local things that we do, like I say, with as far as if you're an Eagles member, one is the state bowling tournament, the state golf tournament. Local, we have an annual holiday party. We have a local cribbage tournament, the annual picnic at Abe Rockland Park. Many different things that, and I mentioned the Old Timers Dinner. And now we started something new where I was kind of in charge of that, to get people together and just have some kind of fun socially, because that's where a lot of things get done, is we started a social night that we just had our first one, the 4th Saturdays of the month, starting last month, in the back room at Surf City on a Saturday night at 6:30, to come on down, and we had some tables to play cards or sheephead or cribbage, a couple of dartball boards set up for people who want to learn how to play dartball, and just to mingle, to get together, to make things happen. And so just different events that, it's kind of a social group, but we also have many things we do and help people out.
Okay, and let's talk about some of these other things that you do, because I know that, like the Telephone Pioneers, for example, and different businesses in town, they'll take a section of highway and clean up trash, the litter that is on that particular section of highway, or they'll do other types of activities. What kinds of group things like that do you do for the community?
Right
I know
now
you
we've been
mentioned
kinda-
things like
yeah.
Spanbauer Field
Right,
and
that's
stuff
our
like
main
that,
thing. We staff that, like I say, 7 nights a week out there with people to work it. That's really the main thing that we've always done in the city. We also have been last year we were sponsoring a holiday parade. As of our meeting just a night ago, we hope to have a float in the parade this year, but haven't been made aware if we're totally having one or not, so to be noticed that way. And we just want to get noticed that, because a lot of people in Oshkosh, ever since the Eagles building on Washington Avenue changed, pretty don't even much know that we even exist anymore, because that was a big landmark. Everyone knew the Eagles Club, that they went there for weddings and you say bowling and different functions. And when that disappeared, like I say, for a while they had their meetings at the Roxy, and then the bingo at VFW, and now our meetings at Surf City, where people don't realize we're still out there a lot of times.
Sure.
So we're trying to get ourselves known, and hopefully people come and ask us for help if it's, like I say, with the holiday parade, or if it's something in Oshkosh, or as you mentioned, clean a highway. I did that myself as a health pioneer many years ago, so I know what you're talking about there. But we just want to be able to be another group in Oshkosh that can help out with different events.
Now, I know you said the bingo is going to start up again at the Electric Lounge sometime in January, but you'll still hold your meetings at Surf City?
Yes.
Really?
That's our main meeting place, which has been for about 2 years now. And as far as we've established there, and plus, like I say, the manager owner of Surf City is also an Eagles member, and it's just worked out well. So, but it's like I say, Ryan from the Electric Lounge is an Eagles member himself, so it was nice to him come up and offer that. He'd have somebody use the hall for a real cheap rent, and hopefully he'll get some bar business off it and everything with his drink cart and after doing bingo. So, work together as Eagle members to help each one out with hopefully his building and business at Electric Lounge, and us being able to do bingo. And as Eagles members, be able to raise some funds that we can donate more money to the different funds that they do donate to, and help out nationwide.
Well, and I should also say, this is aside from what we're talking about here, and I neglected to say it earlier in the first segment, but there are some technical difficulties with some of the equipment here, and so we haven't been able to be putting up names and things like that. But I want to give your phone number again, and we'll give it again before we end, but it's 920-410-0282.
Yes.
Okay, all right. And so anyway, that's why there haven't been any names up on the screen all night long. So if someone's interested in becoming a member of the Eagles, obviously they can call you or they can stop in at Surf City, like you said. What's involved in becoming a member? What are the dues? Is there an age category that you have to be a member of that particular age group, or tell us about it?
It's anyone over the age of 18 can become an Eagles member. As far as we have a little brochure as far as that we give anybody to find out more about the Eagles, and what happens then, as far as, like I say, the best thing is where if somebody wants to find out more, I always say our meetings run for about an hour on Tuesday, the first and third Tuesday of the week at Surf City. They come down about 6 o'clock, so after it's over with, you can meet some of the people and find out more about it in the camaraderie section after it's over with, because they can't come into a meeting until they're a member. And then as far as then, the membership dues annually are $25. When you join, there's another donation of $15 for a total of $40 when you first sign up. One plus about as far as becoming a member, if they were, something new with the Eagles nationwide is where for policemen, firefighters, EMTs, and as far as even honorably discharged military members. As far as they became a member of the Eagles, their first year, their dues would all be taken care of at no cost to them to become a member for either the area or the auxiliary, man or woman, and they pay no initiation fees. And as far as then, after the first year and they stay a member, if something were to happen to them in the line of duty, their family is taken care of after that by the National Organization of the Eagles.
Okay.
So but as far as it's simple $25 a year, and then we have our meetings, and it's, as far as like I say, we help others out and do what we can to help everyone out. And it's kind of a social group, but it's a close-knit group.
Okay. And I've just been told that the graphics are now working. So
Okay.
we were able to get your phone number up there, and we'll get it up there a couple more times. And, you know, what, do you guys have a website at all, or no?
Yes, it is it's just FOE267.com, or you can go to eaglesfoe.com nationwide and go to the same city from there.
Okay. All right. So, but locally, if you want this particular chapter, it would just be FOE267.com, and that's F for fraternal, FOE267.com.
Yes.
Or eaglesfoe.com.
Right,
and
nationwide.
then go to something that's, you know,
Then I would
specific
ask you to put
to
in
a
your
city.
city, and you'll go right to that also.
Okay. All right. So, you know, are there any other qualifications that or requirements that you guys look for in someone, whether or not you're going to approve or like I was noticing
Sure.
on here, there's a rejection box.
Right.
You know, like what would be a reason that
Okay.
someone would be rejected?
Well, what happens is, as far as, let's say we give you one of these forms and you fill it out to become a member, then this goes to our interviewing committee, and they would call you and arrange an interview with you for about an hour to find out your social beliefs, what you're involved in as far as your background, to make sure that you, what do I want to say, that you know you're a viable citizen of the city of Oshkosh and involved in different things or what you worked for, and have an interview that just asks you what you believe or helping people out and those kind of things. Then after they have that interview, the next meeting after that, they come back to the meeting and say that we had an interview with such and such candidate. And then as far as we vote on to bring them before to be able to become a member, and then the next meeting we'd ask them to come to the meeting and do a regular initiation through all our main statutes of the equality, truth, and faithfulness of those things, the different stands of the Eagles.
Okay.
And then you get approved in and you become a member, and you can come to every meeting if you want. You can come once a month, once every couple of months, but it says you become a member and you're able to do a lot of things then.
All right, excellent, very good. Well, this sounds like a good thing, and I'm glad to know that you guys are still around, because you've been a staple of the community for as long as I can recall, and it's nice to know that you are still around, even though the building is now called something else.
Right.
So, all right, very good, Brian. Thanks so much for being here. If you want to give Brian a call, his number is 410-0282. He can tell you about getting things recycled. He can tell you about you know, becoming a member of the local Eagles chapter, what have you, or you can go to FOE267.com or eaglesfoe.com, and I'm sure they can find out a lot more about the Eagles in general.
Give us a call anytime. We're glad to talk to them.
All right. Okay. Excellent. Thanks so much.
Thank you,
Appreciate
Cheryl.
it very much, and continued good luck with your efforts, and thanks for all you do. And that's going to do it for us. We will see you next time. Until then, take care. Keep your eye on us. We've got our eye on Oshkosh.